very commonly when I ask moms, does this feel the way you thought it would? Does motherhood feel the way you thought it would? The very common response is, I didn't expect to feel so isolated or alone. Here we are again.
We are back again.
I just am sitting on a different side, so I'm disoriented. Am I oriented?
You seem great.
Great.
You look great.
Thank
You're
you.
so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Blows my mind.
Thank you. I'm going to get my hair cut tomorrow. I was actually thinking, too bad I didn't before we recorded.
Yeah.
But alas, what is time?
Wash day,
it's fine.
haircuts. They just never, it just never aligns.
It's
for
a podcast
recording.
They're listening.
They're listening.
Okay, cool.
We're going to talk about a thing that we're kind of going to find because it's sort of two strands that weave together.
Yes.
But it's going to be a found art project,
Yes,
found
exactly.
materials art project.
Yeah, exactly. How did this begin? Did this begin because you've been alone?
Yes. So I had COVID. I don't have COVID anymore.
Thank goodness.
But I had COVID for a full 9 days. I still feel kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Still feel kind of crazy. COVID's a bummer, you guys. It's such a bummer.
It's
I was
horrible.
I was amongst the masses who think like, oh, it's like a cold now, right? And it was not at all like a cold. So brain fog, crazy brain fog. So I just didn't leave my house. I didn't leave the apartment for 7 days. And then I didn't go out the gates to go somewhere for the full 9.
Oh my
I
gosh.
pushed the gate open the other night. I was
Powerful.
yeah, I was emerging from my 100 years sleep. But then also the last 3 or 4 days of that, we were supposed to go visit my husband Connor's family in Lake Havasu. So instead, Connor went to visit Connor's family and Layne stayed home.
That's
and
sad.
just got so lonely. And I didn't, you know how I'm always trying to use language to sort of couch things and make sure it comes across really diplomatically. That's like a key feature of my personality. Gone. People are like, how are you? I'm lonely. People are like, how are you feeling? Bad, so bad.
Just dark.
Yeah, a darkness descended. And I was only alone for 3.5 days.
Yeah.
And so that, I think just a casual conversation around that triggered in you what is clearly a deep sense memory and something that you care dramatically about, that you care deeply about for our listeners and all early mothers, motherhood mothers.
Yeah, because it just reminded me. Well, because she was like, I got into a dark place. And I had a call today in Very Good Mothers Club where a few people mentioned that they, prior to joining these calls, were just living life kind of alone. They're with their children, and I don't mean to discount their children. They're wonderful, but they are babies and toddlers who aren't capable of the type of conversations we have when we're around other adults. And to be isolated is crazy making. It does feel very dark. It does feel very lonely. Yeah. There's a sweet spot of alone time.
Right.
That is a recharge.
Gotta have it.
And I love it, and I crave it often. But when you go beyond your sweet spot of alone time into, oh, whoa, I'm alone, and you didn't feel good. There's so much, you poor thing. Yeah, it's a lot. And actually, this was so sweet. So on the call, someone was crying happy tears, saying just to have community and to have somebody to talk to and realize the things I'm facing that I thought I was facing because I'm not very good at being a mom. Turns out these are collective experiences that we all have. And now I don't feel crazy. That was literally what she said. Wow. I don't feel crazy anymore. Yeah. I feel like I'm part of a team. That's what friendship does, which you said so beautifully on another episode that we just made. Will that come out? We don't know the timing.
We don't know.
Don't shh. What Layne said in this other episode, which is so sweet, was she was talking about how a little object in a room, in a dark room with a certain kind of light makes a giant shadow on the wall, and that can be really scary. And then a loving adult comes in and turns on the light and goes, oh, that big shadow wasn't anything, right? And I just melted because I realized that's what love does when you get together with someone else. And Layne's laying here in her apartment alone, feeling so awful. And then Connor gets back and is like, oh, I love you. You were just sick. Your world's not falling apart. You're are sick and you've been alone and everything will be okay and it will all be back as it should be. And that's what was happening for this woman who's on the call, was like, oh, wow, I came here with all of these giant things I'm facing and was met with love, which is the power of being with other people, is you feel seen, you feel understood. I mean, with the right kind of people, right? And the big, scary, awful things feel smaller. And I think pandemic was a weird time because we were all alone and afraid. And then coming out of that, there's still this element of like, how do you re-enter and what do you do with this fear and what the heck was all of that? And just life is a little different. Lots of things are different than they were before. And you guys are in early parenthood, which is naturally isolating in a way that surprises most people. Very commonly, when I ask moms, what I ask them is, does this feel the way you thought it would? Does motherhood feel the way you thought it would? The very common response is, I didn't expect to feel so isolated or alone, because you just see a mom out at a grocery store and you just assume like, she's fine. She's just grocery shopping with her baby. But you don't think about all of the different transitions that took place in order for her to get to that grocery store. And what's going on in her mind is this like really crazy, like the baby might poop, the baby needs to eat. How do I grab all of this and get out there?
On a ticking time clock that you can't see,
that nobody saw.
Like a lady.
And so you've got all of this, but to just the outsider, they're like, oh, lady with baby grocery shopping. All right. And so that's why if I ever approach you in a grocery store and tell you good job randomly and you're like, wasn't expecting to talk to someone, it's because it's this overwhelming thing in me that's like, I see you now. I didn't see you. For my whole life, I didn't see you.
Wow.
And then I became you and now I can't not see you because this was really crazy that you got to the grocery store or literally anywhere. Leaving is not that easy. And so, you need people to be like, good job. You're doing it.
That's so good.
You're not crazy.
Yeah. Let's hone in for a second on the feeling of coming out of isolation, though, because I think that's important. There is a thing about when you have become so alone for any reason, whether it's early motherhood, whether it's mental health, whether it's like for a reason you withdrew from a social circle and, that went on way longer than you thought. And now you're like, yikes, I don't have friends anymore. There's a way that we kind of settle in where almost the being lonely becomes the comfortable thing because it's familiar and you know what to do and it sucks, but you know how to do it. And it seems like so much effort to have to explain it to someone else. Whatever your thing, it feels like a heavy blanket. And then you're like, am I pushing the heavy blanket off or do I just like stay under here? I'm going to use an analogy about sex. So if you're my relative.
If you've never had sex before. No, just kidding.
If you're related to me, don't listen to this. So my husband just got home from a bunch of days being gone and like wanted to have sex immediately. Like instantly. And I was like, sure.
He walks in the door naked. He's like, I've been missing you so much.
Almost. Like so close to that.
So funny,
Was naked so soon after getting home. And I was like, sure, of course, like fun. And then I got in there and got naked and got going and was like, oh, actually, I've been really sick and nobody has touched me at all. In like 10-ish days, which is my complaint, right? Like I'm complaining that I feel like literally touched, like lonely in the, I'm a person who wants a lot of contact, you guys. I just want to like, if somebody could walk around with their hand on my shoulder all the time, I would be like so much more regulated as a person.
That's cute.
It's just how I am.
Learning new things.
I think I got held a lot as a baby. I don't know. So, but then got in there to this thing that should be really normal that I really wanted and was like, oh, actually everything's like, just like kind of tickling me and I feel like sort of flinchy about kind of everything and just like really closed tight in literally all the ways. It was like, whoa, this is like when I first started having sex and had to like casual myself down into being like, no, I totally want to be here.
No, I like this.
Right. To the degree that it was almost like something weird is happening. I don't wanna. And being like, no, I do wanna. I just have been wrapped and closed and alone and untouched. And I almost felt like I had to unfold or unwrap myself to get into this thing that was so normal that I wanted that was going to like make my life better, you know?
Yeah.
You know, sex just makes your life better.
All the husbands are like,
It's just going to make it better. But it blew my mind. And I feel it feels like a good analogy almost for this feeling of needing to like emerge from a long time of not being in contact with people, whether that's like physical contact or just like opening your heart, even opening your mouth to just talk. Like you get out of the habit of explaining yourself, of expressing yourself, of being like, this is me and this is kind of the stuff that I like. And especially in new motherhood, you've just gone through this unbelievable identity change that is not understandable to people who have not had it. And many people go through it and then sort of memory hole it because they didn't process it fully. So even a lot of moms who are much further down the road from you, like would have to go back and recall that thing. Like you're in something really special and precious, but also visceral and sort of like animal, and there's like fluids and like stuff is going back where it belongs. Like your body is needing to, it's literally cracked open and needing to come back together slow. Like this is a big deal, and it can feel hard to want to muster that energy to let somebody into that, to find words to wrap around this new thing. Like choosing to be connected to people when for any reason you haven't can feel really hard.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned brain fog about sickness. There's a fogginess of early motherhood too that makes you feel like less confident to relate to people. Where you're like, I don't even know if I have anything important to say. I don't truly, like, what am I going to tell you about? And for a lot of you, you're in the thick of like thinking about feeding and diapers, and you feel like to somebody else, they might not even know why that matters. And I know a lot of you also struggle because if you aren't in the same stage of life as your friends, some of you are having kids before them, and some of you are having kids a long time after them, you also feel this insecurity of like, I don't know if you'll relate to me, and I don't have the brain space right now to relate to you yet, because I'm still just trying to make sense of everything that Layne just described, right? That's tricky. So like when you don't feel your best because you've been isolated and you feel low, but you're comfortable with the low, but you're not really, you don't like it. You just are that. It also feels weird to go out and connect with people, especially for the first time, because you feel like they're meeting a version of you that you don't even like. You would rather they met the other version of you that is way more excited to be here. And so that's also weird. So then you find all these reasons why actually it would just be better if you do the stuff that doesn't feel that good, but it's working, air quotes, working. And I would encourage you, no matter what stage of life, you don't have to be a mom to understand this. If you can just get past the awkwardness of beginning a conversation, I promise most people that you're talking to understand to some degree the way you're feeling. The social anxiety piece of life, like it's so common. Even I'm watching it play out in my elementary aged kids. They love their friends. And when we arrive to a play date at a park, at a birthday party, they feel nervous openly. I feel a little nervous to be here. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's a weird part of being a human being. You're going to do great. Let's get through the door. That's the anxiety piece. Just figuring out which group of people you're going to like find your way into. And then once you do it, it'll be good. And also, even if it's not good, the goodness is good job trying. Good job getting out of the house and doing something different. That will build momentum in itself if you'll just take the brave step to go try and connect to someone else. And then usually you'll find at least one other person who is nice. But Phil Stutz, psychiatrist, he's a psychiatrist, he said that there are benefits to even talking to an uninteresting person, like just to get out and have a conversation with someone who you feel like there isn't that much in common. That's beneficial when you've gone through a stage of being really isolated and low. Like it's still doing something good to your brain. And so he would argue like, just do it. Even if you leave and go, oh, none of those people were my people. We probably won't be friends later. You still did something that was positive for your life right now. Like
neurologically healthy. Like it will actually.
And will probably make you feel a little better in some capacity, even if you go, oh no, people aren't great.
And you know, some aren't. Not everybody's interesting. And certainly not everybody's going to be interesting to you.
And a lot of people aren't really good socially. Like it's pretty special when you find someone who's like just down to be a friend right away. Sometimes it takes a little time to break through the beginning stage.
Pitch us on the benefits though, Jess. Tell the folks how they'll feel when they come out of isolation.
Okay, this is so cute. Today on a call, so this is just online friends, which I didn't even believe, this is a confession, and funny that I would start an online group, but I truly didn't even believe you could have that deep of connection with people through a screen that you don't meet and hug and touch on the leg and tell they look beautiful in real life. Today on one of our calls, because we had 2 in a row today, one of the women cried happy tears saying, guess what? My counselor that I've been seeing since 2020 told me that I don't need her anymore, because turns out what I needed was friendship and support from other people in the same stage of life as me.
Wow.
And the therapist said, like, obviously you can reach out anytime, but she was like, I can't believe it. Like it's like graduating from a stage of mental health to another one.
Absolutely.
She's like, I was telling her how much my life has changed through having people who understand the hard stuff I'm going through. And she was so like genuine about it. Like, I feel so much better just making friends. And this is through a screen. None of us have ever hugged this woman.
It's amazing.
In real life, over and over again, I'm hearing from people who are coming to things that I happen to be hosting, but just this idea of like, come together, do the brave thing, show up. Of like, wow, this elevated my life. Wow, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. I can't believe I let myself feel so bad, not in a shameful way, but just like that I stayed uncomfortable for so long, when down the road and through some doors was a group of people who was ready to receive me. And more than that, I want to add something. You have a lot to give.
Yeah.
It is so good on the soul to a place and be able to share experiences and help somebody else. And a lot of times that happens before they even realize it's happening. You might go to a place and be like, oh, I don't really feel good. Like, I'm struggling with this stage of early motherhood. I don't really have a lot to offer. I don't have answers. And then you meet a pregnant person, a pregnant lady who's like, oh, I'm struggling with this. And you go, oh my gosh, I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And when I was pregnant, I went through this. And then suddenly you're helping someone and you just thought moments before you had nothing to offer, but I promise you do.
Yeah.
And so that dynamic of receiving love, but also really giving from your wealth of experiences. You've been around a long time now. You've experienced a lot of stuff all the way back from your childhood.
Yeah.
There's plenty you have to offer the world. And when we sit here alone and kind of just caring for these little ones who aren't even at a stage yet where they can express back the gratitude that they feel for all of the different things that you're doing constantly. Yeah, you need it. You need the other adults who can tell you that you are not crazy, that you are very important, and that you're very wise. And thank you so much for, helping me live my day better. It's so meaningful. And then this one. I told Layne this earlier. One thing that's really special about friendship is it helps you identify when you feel resentful, which this feels like, can I relate the two? But I really can. Okay, I really can. I know this. I've been on enough calls with you, met you in real life enough times.
That's so funny. That looks like you're telling me.
Oh,
listen,
yeah.
Layne, I've met you in real life enough times. We're going to talk about resentment because I know you.
No, not Layne. But when I talked about it with Layne, she was like, yes, this is a common thing we both see. So sometimes when we're alone in our houses, in our heads, we get resentful towards the ones we love. And we go, must be nice. We look at our partners and we go, must be nice to get a full night's sleep. Must be nice that you can go out golfing every Saturday morning, or must be nice that you have a friend group that you can connect with. I mean, what are they? There's so many must be nices. Must be nice that when the kids cry, they come to me, not you. Must be really nice.
Must be nice that you have a friend who calls you.
Yes, exactly. Must be nice that you have food ready for you when you're hungry and I have to make it.
Yeah.
And what friendship is really good for, a friend can go, oh, I'm hearing all of your must be nices about your husband. We'll just use that as an example. I want to highlight, friend to friend, that your must be nices are identifying what your needs are right now. Now, you might not need to play golf on Saturday, Mom, but you are feeling resentful that he's playing golf on Saturday. Maybe what your need is to do something life-giving for yourself, child-free, on a weekend morning. Or must be nice to have a meal ready. That's a need. Hey, I'm carrying a lot right now, and it's really hard for me to also be making all our food.
Yeah.
What can we do to share these responsibilities? Oh, must be nice to get a full night's sleep. I'm really tired. Is there a way we could work together to figure out how I could get some rest?
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up in the context of needing community and friendship is because what I find is women will come like for the first or second time to something we're hosting, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm feeling really, really resentful of my husband. I am so mean. I feel so guilty that I have these thoughts. And for one, a group of women like that can go, oh my gosh, these are really common.
Right.
These are really, really common thoughts. Sorry, because what's also common is that you feel like crap about them. You're having them and now you feel terrible. Here's a way to reframe. How could we ask your husband for some space? Or how could we ask your family? How could we ask, even like you might look at friends you love or people, oh, must be nice that they get to go on a trip, do whatever. And then you go, oh, I think I'm really looking for a change of scenery. Okay, I'm going to recognize that need and go to my people and go, hey, what if we did a day trip here? Or what if we did a picnic in this new place? It doesn't even have to be a trip to Greece.
Right.
It could be just something entirely different from what your day-to-day life is. But other people are often quicker at going, hey, you're not a bad person. You're not evil. These thoughts right now actually aren't even meant to be mean to your husband. They're showing you that you have needs. And your husband might not be aware at all because it's possible you've let him live this way for a long time without even saying, oh, I don't think I want to make all of our meals. I don't like cooking the way you thought I did. Or I don't like cooking. A lot of moms say this. I loved to cook until I had young kids. But the husbands think they still love to cook.
Sure.
And then they have young kids and the mom forgets to say, I don't love cooking right now.
Yeah, this is a different experience. I'm not enjoying this in the same way.
Which is really important.
Can we get a meal kit? Can you please get takeout on Tuesdays, every Tuesday for the foreseeable future? Exactly.
And especially because what happens a lot is you and me, I've done this too, we can't ask our partner to make food because he's already carrying all of these things. Or we can't ask them to help care for the baby because actually when the baby cries, they need me. And a friend can go, oh, wait. So yeah, you are the only one who can soothe your baby right now. That's okay. We can take that. Your husband actually could prep you a meal though. If you're caring for your baby and toddler, he could be pulling something out of the freezer and reheating it if he's not like a food guy. You know, he could be heating up something and then you see life a little different because friends are really great at the perspective piece that we don't have. Yeah. So the connection there is we live alone in our heads with a lot of ugly feelings. And then instead of understanding like these feelings are cueing us to our needs, we instead just think, oh, I'm just a really mean person. I had kids and I became a big a-hole.
Yeah, I'm so nasty.
Yeah. And then a loved one can go, oh, you're not, and pretty normal. And yeah, those feelings really suck. And here's a way you could look at it that's a little different than you were looking at it before. And it does so much. It's so important and healthy.
Yeah, I think a big one for me that other people help me with frequently is this idea that I should be able to carry everything. Like I pack my life because I'm ambitious and I want all this stuff. So my life is it's too full for the hours at all times.
Sure.
And then I'm like, and I don't even have children, I should be able to carry this ridiculous load. And and I have this idea that somebody else would be able to do it, or that if I were better in some particular way, I wouldn't be in this circumstance. And for other people to just be like, actually, that's a lot of stuff you're carrying. It seems like you're going to have to put one of those things down.
Sure.
Take care of that one. And then maybe come back and get that a little bit later. Yeah. Could you just pause that? Or probably none of those people think that you should be able to any of these things. And if you just communicated with them, it's going to be this day for this thing and this day for this thing and this day for this thing because I have this other stuff going on.
Sure.
No one will be mad at you.
Yes. And all will be fine.
All will be fine. But I can't see it.
But that thing you said of someone else would be able to do that. Oh my gosh, that plagues everyone. That's you guys are feeling that, oh, well, someone else, someone else has more kids than me and they're doing more. Oh, well, someone else isn't here. And she's probably really grumpy.
It's just me and my life. And I have no idea what it feels like to be her.
Right.
And doesn't really matter because this isn't her life. This is mine and I picked the pieces.
That's good.
Yeah.
The perspective. Well, also scientifically, when I was reading that book, Anti-Cancer, it was talking about there's so much data behind community helping your body be well. They even did tests on people who had cancer and they would split them into different case studies. Sorry that I'm saying this so bad. Basically, there was a group that had community that met consistently. And then there was a group that didn't, but they did all of the medication. They went to the appointments. So they all did the same thing, except the one group had each other. And the group that had each other outlived the others by so much that the doctors were surprised because they were running this specific thing. I should give you like the citation for this because it was so interesting. Breast cancer patients, they ran this basically to prove that community doesn't do anything.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then they outlived the others by a lot.
Wow.
And it was so good for me to realize that because sometimes in doing what we do, it can feel a little bit light and fluffy. Like people can be like, so what do you do? Like,
use that.
or these questions of education come up. Like, so are you a licensed therapist? And I'm not, just so you know.
Yeah, me neither.
Right. I'm not. And yet I believe wholeheartedly that this group, this gathering people thing on a consistent basis to give them space to talk about the real stuff of life is absolutely life-changing and so important and so healthy and so meaningful. And it doesn't have to be, come be a part of Very Good Mothers Club. It could be, I have my neighbors who come and hang out weekly. We see each other. We talk about stuff. We laugh a lot.
Yeah.
We make each other food. Sean's got his skate park people. They hang out. They grill together. We all show up there. We know loosely what's going on. That is so healthy. So healthy. Unarguably life-changing. I guess that's it. I was like, should I convince them more? But try it. Just try it.
Yeah.
Try to hang out with people who will make you feel loved and seen. So it's a specific ask. And I guess, well, actually, is that it? Do they have to feel loved and seen right away? Maybe
no. Nope.
I guess,
The whole Phil Stutz thing, even like,
yeah, right.
No, you just make social contact. You just go and you just be there and you be a person who lives in a body next to another person's body and you make eye contact and just let the eye contact do its work on your brain,
or join one of our Zoom calls and have your camera on.
Yeah.
Let us see you and see us.
Little steps.
It's, you don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true because you don't know. You could go to a group and they're like, right, but you did it.
Yeah. It's just stacking little pebbles. You just do a small thing in the right direction and then you will eventually find your way to the people who do love you and do see you. And even you can mine your past for that. There's probably a friend somewhere in the back who actually would be really happy to hear from you and just like get on a phone call and then you just tell them,
brilliant.
This is how I feel. Do you feel like that? What's your life like? And you just do the thing of breathing outwards and taking them in.
That's such a good point. It doesn't have to be anything new. It can be past. If you're listening to this and you're like, actually, I think I would love to host people, because some of you are wired that way too, where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be the goer, but I'd love to be the gatherer. There's a book called The Art of Gathering. Have you read that? Oh, you would love it. It's so good. It's so good. It was like kind of magical. I read that book before I knew that we were going to be opening a shop where I would be gathering people.
Wow.
So it was just, very serendipitous that this book appeared in my life. But it's really, really beautiful and does a great job at explaining the magic of bringing people together, different ways to do it. And if you read it too, you'll basically recognize when you go to gathering places. Like if something feels off, you'll know exactly why. And if something feels amazing, you'll know exactly what it was. You would seriously love the book. You really, truly, it's so good. So start gatherings. If you're on the fence, please start gatherings. If you want to attend a gathering that she and I host on the fourth Tuesday of every month, we lead a call together in Very Good Mothers Club. I joke that it's mostly Layne leading the call because, I mean, it kind of is. So because we make it for like...
you throw to me really hard.
I know. Well, because what ends up happening is we've got all these parents who are freshly in the toddler stage. And I also still feel more like a parent in the toddler stage than an answerer of questions for parents in the toddler stage. So if you are in that and you want to ask us questions, Layne is there with me as a cheerleader, and we both do answer questions. Also, if you're listening to these episodes and you want to dive deeper into any of these topics, or you're just like, I don't have that many people in my life that I can talk to about deep stuff, this is an amazing community of mothers.
Yeah. All you need in your life is like, you just need one thing to connect with people over.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling stressed about like, how do we make friends? Like, people who are in that call listen to the same podcast as you.
Right.
And that can really easily be like your one thing.
Totally.
That you have then 15 beautiful, cool, interesting, smart women
to
connect with about.
Yes. And two things that could either happen. You can choose. One is we've had women become such good friends that they have flown to each other to meet each other. There's been birthday gifts sent to one another. There was one mom who went on a trip. She arrived there and the housing she thought she had for her and her toddler, she traveled alone, turned out to not be working out. There was no bed at the place she had arrived to and there was no food. And she was told there would be food. Another mom in the community who had never met her in real life, within a few hours, arranged for a bed, a toddler bed, to be delivered to their place along with child-friendly food that would get them through the next 24 hours. So there's that. But then also some women have said, I'm actually thankful we're not that good of friends because then I can come to the call and I can tell you about a fight me and my partner got in and I don't have to worry that you're going to judge him when you see us at the park on Saturday. And so there really is a gift to some distance as well. And you can choose what you need. If you just need a safe place to process, we're great at that. But if you also want deep friendship, the other women who are there are really great at that. And they would love to be your friend. And you would bring so much to their lives just like they would bring something to your life. So you want to be a part of it? Do it. If you're listening to all of this and you're like, okay, great. But I actually have really big toddler issues that I don't think need to be in a group setting. They need to be in a Layne setting. She does one-on-one calls.
There's a Layne setting available.
There's a Layne setting. And I think that's it.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Great job, Jessica. You're so encouraging.
Thank you.
It feels so good to listen to you talk.
Oh, thanks. I feel the same about you. Good thing we did a podcast. Okay, you guys are great. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you soon. Bye. Very Good Enough is a production of Very Good Mothers Club. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and leave a little comment. And above all, text it to a friend.